If I may, if we could take a few minutes of silence to remember the victims and the citizens of Newtown, Connecticut. We have Peter Colcott here. He's got something I think some people are anxious to see and happy to accept and continue their journey down the long rail trail.
Where's the best place to stand so folks can see this?
Probably.
Here?
How about against the map?
Against the map.
Well, we do it against the map. Can you do that from the original?
Well, Ed and just let Corey come on over. How's this? Can the camera see this? Okay, great.
Yes, you got it.
Let me just give just a few brief comments. This is a check for $225,720 for the town of Southampton. This check is signed. So I guess this is a legal tender. And on it, the names on it are Governor Paul Patrick, Lieutenant Governor Timothy Murray, Secretary Richard K. Sullivan Jr., who is from Westfield, so he knows this area very well. I'd like to present this check to the town of Southampton, to the advocates of this great project, to all the people that will use it, to the taxpayers here in town. And let me just say that this didn't happen by the work of one person or a couple of people. This was a partnership. Senator Knappich from Westfield was instrumental in this. Governor Patrick's team, the advocates here in town, the select board, the taxpayers. This is a public-private partnership. It's a non-partisan effort. Republicans and Democrats and people of all parties and people who aren't in any party helped to make this happen. And so I'm very optimistic that with this grant and with other things that we're working on right now, in a few short years, I can ride my bike from Florence over to Southampton for office hours. So congratulations. 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 Very good. Here you go, guys. Here's your check.
Oh, thank you.
We were full of that.
Ned, I used to add one thing sort of off the cuff as you're walking back to your seat. If at some point the board would like to sit with Senator Knappich and I right after the new year to talk about the other capital projects that were in the transportation bond and other issues we're having.
That'd be great.
Okay.
That'd be great. Thank you, Peter.
Merry Christmas. Happy holidays.
Thank you.
See you later. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Courtney.
Yes, thank you.
Your hard work. Thank you. Next, we have Girl Scouts from the town of Southampton, and you're going to interview us. There's usually 5 of us, but you're stuck with 2 of us.
Yeah.
So I hope that helps you up somewhat. Is there a spokesperson? Okay. Okay.
I'll be second to last.
Okay, I guess you're first.
Hi, my name is Hannah Montague, and I'd like to ask you, what do you do for the town?
Well, I'm on the Board of Selectmen. I'm one of 5 members. I also run the Highway Department and the transfer station as my full-time job. And I serve on some other committees for policy and procedures and the Water Commission.
Thank you. My name is Anna Ray, and I want to know, what is a selectman?
You want to handle that?
Sure. My name is Jackie. How are you?
Good.
That's good. You're so brave to come here.
For a badge.
Oh, well, that's good. You have to earn your badges, right? Well, actually, select men or select women, if someday you ladies are interested. What we try to do is make sure that the town has enough money for the policemen, the firemen, the highway department, to make sure that we're safe and our roads are clean if it snows, if it's icy. And we make sure that all the money that we get from people that pay their taxes is put in the right places, spent very thrifty, and make sure that everybody is okay, and that if they come to the town, they know we're listening.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
My name is Autumn, and I was wondering, do you like your job?
I like my job. It has good days and bad days, but a lot of good days compared to the bad days. When I say bad days, there's hurricanes and events that come through that catch us by surprise, and we have to do a lot of activities that normally we wouldn't do, and it takes a lot of time. But I think we all knew that when we got on board, that this was part of the job. Some of the good things is people like you coming in here and asking questions like this, because you are our leaders in the future. Some of the rewarding things that I've seen happen is projects that have started and developed and were built, and citizens are able to use it and enjoy it and keep it in good working order and pass it on to the next generation.
Thank you.
I'd like to ask you another question. How do you get to be a selectman or woman?
You take out papers from the clerk's office to run an election, and the citizens will vote whether they want to elect you to do the job for them, because we are the representative of all the citizens in town.
Thank you.
What is your name and how long have you been a selectman?
My name is Ed Cawley, and I've been a selectman for about 7 months.
Thank you.
Mhm.
How do you decide on choices to improve Southampton?
That's a good question. First of all, we try to find out what the greatest need is, and how it will serve the public, and how it will address the needs of the public. And if the money and the effort and the labor that's necessary to do it is available, and it's a doable project.
I'd like to ask you, have you ever met the president?
No, I haven't. Would love to.
Me too. I second that.
Your turn. How do you make choices?
Well, a lot of time choices are brought to us by department heads, whether it's police, schools, conservation committee, housing authority. They'll bring their choices to us, and we look at those choices and see if we can move forward with them. And it has to do with, sometimes it's just a matter of saying yes and agree to do it and let them move forward with it. Sometimes it needs a yes, and it needs money and support. And support would come in the form of citizens and groups that want to see this thing move forward.
Thank you.
It's all right, take your time.
I don't think I care too
There's not too many things we're going to do tonight.
Yeah, that's right.
How does your job work?
How does my job work? Well, this young lady over here to my right, she puts all the agendas together, and she puts all the assignments together for us to review, and people come in and talk to her in her capacity to get on the agenda, which is a schedule of events, and it's posted so people can see what's out there and know what's going to be discussed, so they can be prepared as well as us to come in and ask questions. And that's what we work from.
Could you I just forgot. Oh, I remember. Do you like to be asked questions?
What's that?
Do you like to be asked questions?
Of course.
That's so okay. How often do you meet?
How often do I what?
Meet
Meet.
on Tuesday nights, every other night, depending on the finance, depending on the year. Reggie, why don't you answer that? How many times do we have to meet a year?
It's every other week, unless they're looking at the budget of how much money they're going to put aside or spend, then it would be every week.
Thank you.
Sometimes we have emergency meetings.
Yes.
Emergency meetings happen when something comes about that has to be acted on real fast. And those are called emergency meetings, and they're posted for about 24 hours ahead of time. And we have to meet on only that question and nothing else, but they do happen. We had an emergency meeting last week where we had to vote on a special town meeting. This is something that has to be done so we can set our tax rate.
How long is the meeting?
They usually like to keep it under 2 hours, but there's been times it's been 3 and 4 hours sometimes.
Depending on what we have to talk about.
Does all the money that people donate, do you give it to the homeless?
There are programs in town and committees in town that deal with some of those issues, but for the most part, the taxpayers' money, they receive a lot of their money from donations. But the taxpayers' monies come in here, and there's a budgetary process where each department, each committee comes in with a list of items they need to take care of, such as wages for their workers, money for expenses to pay the light bill or a water bill, or to buy equipment or machinery to do their job, or to buy books for the school or to hire a teacher. They'll come in and they'll present this to us, and our budget is developed off of that, and that's where our taxpayers' money goes.
Thank you.
I would like to say something, ladies. One of the things we do is we have 5 people, so it's fair. So if we take a vote, so it's called a quorum. So you have enough people together to make a decision, to make a vote, to make it fair. So just like when you, with your friends, if you all want to go to the mall or not, you have to have 2 people that want to go, or 3 people, but you can't just go, okay, everybody follow me, we're going. So it's democracy. So we have to take a vote and make it official, and a vote, so it's fair. And that's why this is here. That's why there is a select board in town. It's democracy.
How often does an emergency meeting happen?
Some years we've had none, and some years we've had 3 or 4. Okay, and it's usually something that was unforeseen, or something that needs to be addressed so we can move forward.
I can't.
Take your time. What is the name of your troop? Or do they have troops, or are they dens?
They have numbers.
None? Okay.
We are 40101.
And you're...
40101. What? 40101.
Now, do you go to Norris?
Yes. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And what's the name of the badge you're getting tonight for
Inside government.
inside government?
What other things do you have to do besides interview the select board?
This is the last one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This is
So what
the
did you-
last step we have to do.
What were your other steps?
I remember one one was we had to make like posters, like a mini poster that was like when you grow up if you wanted to like be president or something.
Mhm.
And we had president, and I forgot other things like or governor, and there's a couple of other things.
What do you think we should be doing? What would you like us to do for the town?
You like snow days, don't you?
That's what it is, a day off.
Oh, you can do it again.
Any questions, just, you know, you have,
Do all the foundations that, like, the one that, I don't know how to explain it, connected here, like, to the, like, do you have to solve all the problems that go along with them?
with the foundation?
Yeah, if something goes wrong.
Well, we try to. And if we can't resolve it, we bring in some experts, or we take advice from people. And sometimes it takes 2 or 3 meetings to get a course of action together based on maybe a professional engineer or a lawyer or an expert in the field. We'll take their advice and we'll talk about it,
And listen a lot.
and then we'll discuss it, and then we'll come up with a course of action.
I have 2 questions.
Very good.
Like, do you build parks in Southampton?
Yes, we do.
Or other places people can go to?
Yes.
And, what's the biggest time it took to decide on a problem or something?
What's that?
What's the longest time it took to decide on something?
The longest thing is the budget.
Yeah.
It takes forever and ever and ever, because things are changing all the time. We have an idea how much money will come in, but sometimes we don't get the amount of money we expect from the state, or the amount of money comes in on, say, cars that are taxed, and it does affect it. And it's a long process. It starts around December, and it goes to probably May. And most of the meetings in that period are devoted to budgets, talking to departments, what their needs are, what they can get by with. If there was something if there was some extra money, what would they spend it on, and how would we benefit the community for that project. Don't be bashful. You're fine. You're doing fine. Did anybody tell you you're on TV?
Oh, now you're going to make her really nervous.
Really helps.
Oh, God.
How much
Oh.
money,
I don't care for
how much money would you donate? How much money would you donate to say to the parents, to each of the parents in Newtown, if what are that, like children?
And that's a tough question. Those issues are going to be talked about for many days, and I don't have an answer for that right now. Thank you for the question. Something we should think about.
Actually, Sunday night at 7 o'clock in front of the town hall, we're going to have
A vigil.
a vigil here. If you want to tell your parents or anybody else, we're going to all gather in front of the town hall to pay our respects. Oh, good. So all we can do is pray for them, and that's what we're going to do.
Do you call school delays?
As highway superintendent, I get up about 4 o'clock in the morning. I drive the streets of a snow day. And I have the honor of waking up your superintendent and giving him the information for him to make his decision.
So yesterday you decided you would have a
Actually, I didn't have that decision because Southampton was in fairly good shape, but the hill towns and the West Hampton and Goshen, they had some icy issues, and that's why there was a 2-hour delay.
I have a question. How many votes do you have a meeting?
What's that?
How many votes do you have
A
at
meeting.
one meeting?
How many votes?
Yeah.
It could be anywhere from 5 or 6 to maybe 10 or 12, depends on what's on the agenda.
Yeah.
What's the different colored pins for?
Fun. See? Colors.
Very creative.
And colors.
From a scale from 10 to 1, how hard would your job be?
Well, like a 10.
On the average, it's probably about a 6. The 10 being the worst, or
Yeah.
about a 6.
The highway job, not the select board.
What's
The
job?
select board is easy for you.
Yeah. That's easy. It's, it's a 5.
Thanks for making me scribble that.
Uh-oh. When is your badge ceremonies?
Fridays sometimes.
Because we have meetings on Fridays.
Mm-hmm.
Probably Friday.
No, do you have a sash with all your badges on it?
No, we have this.
Those are nice. Wow, ooh, look at all the
wow.
ones she has. Very
Wow.
good. Wow.
So the sashes that girls used to have are gone?
No, brownies still use it.
Oh, you're...
Brownies.
You're,
So they're,
okay.
it's like all the brownies use them. And juniors, and some juniors.
Mm-hmm.
But we decided to use vests.
They look great. You look very nice.
If
Take your time.
what's the most the most urgent emergency meeting you've had?
It was back about maybe 10, 15 years ago. It was an emergency meeting because we had a serious problem in town with chemicals that got into the water. It was into the drinking water of the wells down in the Pequot Pond area. And the town came together, put all its forces together, and worked very hard to put 12 miles of pipeline in to bring good drinking water to the citizens in Ponds area. And to me, that was the very, one of the most crucial things that we've ever done as a town. And we did it fast, and we did it to the safety of the people. And there was no problems doing that.
How long was the longest emergency meeting?
That one there was a couple hours, because we had state people here, we had federal people here, we had local people here, and we had citizens that were very concerned, and they had a lot of questions. And it had to do with water quality, health, and addressing that serious problem.
What's the most what do you run?
What do I run?
Yeah, do you run the police station? Do you run the fire station?
As my job as a highway superintendent, I run all the roads, okay, the transfer station, all the buildings, the parks and playgrounds, new construction as far as building streets, assist in the water department.
Thank you. When was the last time you had an emergency meeting?
October 31st, 1910. Oh, I gotta take that back. We had one for Hurricane Sandy,
Oh, yeah.
and that was a short one compared to our snowstorm back about a year ago. We only had one major meeting for that, but the snowstorm of October 29th, if you remember, we had to move Halloween back a couple days, or forward a couple days. And that was an ongoing event for several months.
Do you make laws?
No, the people do.
They're called bylaws for a town.
That's all right, take your time, it'll come.
Do you have to call an emergency meeting when the tornado ran through Springfield?
There was a small meeting of departments, but it really didn't affect us too much.
Okay. Have you ever been the only person at a meeting?
Yes. You get to go home real quick. And the funny part of it is I was here waiting, and they were meeting in another room.
Oh, I hate when that happens.
Was this your dream in life? When you were a kid, did you want to be this?
No, actually, my dream in life was to play football and teach school.
I play football. You guys. Want me to go? Yeah. Do you like having meetings?
It's very rewarding when you see things come together and they develop into something you're very proud of.
The other people that were here when we came in, are they
Select board. No, they were, one was their state representative, Peter Colcott. He represents the citizens of Southampton in Boston at the State House. He's from the House of Representatives. He brought us news of a check to help pay for the purchase of the railroad that can be used in the future for a bike path.
It's like the Greenway?
Yes.
Greenway, yes. And the other two people were from the Conservation Commission, and they helped put the paperwork together to apply for this grant and receive this grant. So that's why we're here.
Because one of them was my aunt. With the
You-
Auntie Katie Bennett.
Okay, she's on the committee? Hmm.
Maybe she doesn't know what grant
When
is.
did you start
She should explain what a grant is.
wanting to be a selectman?
Excuse me, do you know what a grant is?
What?
The grant, that's
A
a
grant?
grant, it's a check that we receive, they call it a grant. It's money that we get from the state to help pay for the bikeway, or the greenway.
When did you start wanting to be selected?
About 10 months ago.
Do you want the Greenway slash bike path?
What's that?
Do you want the Greenway slash bike path?
Yes, I do. It's in my backyard.
It will be close to my house.
Very good.
Just go down the hill.
Are there many balls in the meetings?
There's what?
Are there many, like, many walls?
Walls or laws?
Walls.
Brawls.
Like
Brawls?
documents?
Oh, God.
No, not that I'm aware of.
No, thank God.
No, we kind of solve our differences by discussion and communication.
Oh, it's my turn. Did you ever go to the Larrabee school?
No, I went to school in Hoyoke.
What would happen, let's say, you know in those shows where, like the snow gets really, really high, like up to the door?
Snowballs? Pumpkins? No. Yeah.
Nor'easters?
When you take them in the house.
When you can't get out of the house for like anything, what would you do? Like, would you call an emergency meeting, like on the phone since you couldn't like get out of your house?
Well, the funny part of it is, my job, my day job brings me to the point that I will be involved with that before the first snowflakes hit the ground. And I will stay there with the highway department and the contractors that work for the highway department to move the snow off the roadways and to keep it open for emergency vehicles, for police cars, fire trucks and ambulances, and to try to get the roadways open as quick as possible.
What's your favorite part of your job?
You.
Us.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, you are. You guys are so great for coming here. Great questions.
That's a shame the other three aren't here. They would enjoy this immensely.
I know. I was looking forward to this all day. You're so smart, all of you.
That guy back there, he's smiling, he's enjoying this.
He
He's
is.
glad you got me on the hot seat.
That's right.
I was going to suggest, if you have spare copies, that would help with the mirror grabs, right?
Sure.
Right?
You guys need extra copies?
Copies of the agenda of what we
Would
go
you like a
through.
copy, each of you? And I'll go make a copy if you guys, all three of you want.
You need one more, Reggie? You need one more?
I'm gonna make it. I'll go make them.
Okay. Okay. Are you, and you have questions? Don't be afraid to ask them. We do have other business to do, so.
Yes. Maybe
You're doing
one
a
more.
great job.
Maybe one more question each, okay? Pressure.
I was thinking.
Do you have any good stories? Wait. Do you have any stories to share?
Stories to share? I have lots of stories to share.
Like any, like the one that you think, like the meeting that you think was most successful, say.
I thought the most successful and important meeting that I was ever at was when the town dealt with a chemical problem that was in the ground. Town came together and put their heads together and moved forward to get a water line in the ground to address the issue of having good quality water to drink for the citizens that were affected. And I'm very proud that we did it in such a fast manner and with the help of all the agencies from the town and some from the state. You gotta ask her some questions, because she's gonna beat me up later on for
You
getting
like sitting in the big fancy chair.
Yes, but her chair's bigger than mine, I think.
I usually get the little one. I get the big one today.
Why do you have meetings?
Why do we have what?
Meetings.
Oh, so that we can talk about town business, so that people can come and talk about what they need to live in the town, to feel that we're listening and that we're doing our best that we can to make sure that they get what they need.
Okay. One more question, and we have to move on. I think it's her question. You each had one. You have one. You have the last question. Yep.
No, that would be nice.
Oh, okay.
Oh, she's all done.
Bob Mercadanti would like to say something to you guys.
I just want to thank you. You're the selectman, right?
Yes.
Both of you. On November 10th, I had a little heart attack at my house 5 in the morning. And we had the police, the fire, and the East Hampton Fire Department came too.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to say that your chief in the fire department saved my life.
Oh.
Him and his men. They saved my life. I don't know who put him there. If it were you people, you did a great thing for your town. He's a great man. I'm telling you, what he did, he saved my life. And that's all I have to say. And I hope you, I don't know what you can do, but that's all I got to say.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, and I thank you very much for, if you appointed him or whatever, I thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you for sharing that with us, and we hope you feel you're okay.
Well, yeah, I feel pretty good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So you select chiefs,
Yes.
the 5 chiefs?
We appoint the fire chief, the police chief, the highway superintendent, and many board members.
Are you the bosses of Southampton?
I wouldn't want to call us the bosses. I think we're the chief elected officers. Okay? Any more questions? Because we have other business to do, but this was a great experience, and thank you very much. You
Thank you.
educated us as well as yourself tonight.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Great questions.
And your name is? You're one of the fathers?
I am his father.
Congratulations.
Really great. Good luck.
Thank you, and keep out. Come in someday and show us your badges,
Yeah, we want to see.
okay? Can you get them? We'll stop everything to see them.
That's right. Thank you.
There's no union contract tonight, right?
No.
Okay, Pioneer Valley Planning, you're in the hot seat. Is this David?
Hope your questions aren't harder.
Hi, I'm Dave Alvini.
Yeah. Ed Colley, you've been on the phone a few times.
Jackie Sears.
Jackie, great to see you. Thanks. Thanks
Come on
so
up,
much.
Hank. Sit right up there.
What can I tell you?
Start.
Well, Pioneer Valley Planning Commission's been working with Hank and the Master Plan Committee for several years. The contract to do the master plan was signed in 2009
Mm-hmm.
and was originally to end December 31st of this year, the end of this month. And the work has taken a little longer than we anticipated. The contract was originally for $75,000, and it was split into 4 phases. Phases 1 and 2 completed on time, didn't require an extension or anything. Each phase is, the first 2 phases were for $20,000. The third phase, each phase required an express act of the Board of Selectmen to proceed on to the next phase. And this third phase was to be concluded by June 30th, this past June 30th.
Mm-hmm.
It was, we needed an extension, so we asked for an extension through the end of this year. But we asked for it in the form of a notice to proceed. And I think that was a mix-up on our part by not asking that expressly that the funds also be carried over so that they could be expended before the end of this year. So we have been still submitting invoices, and we are very grateful that you have continued to pay them. But our accounting requires that we have an express written extension of the contract through the end of this year for the third phase. So that's the first piece of paperwork that I think you're considering, is this extension of what we're calling Phase 3. What I'm calling Phase 3, but on the piece of paper, it's actually on the contract.
This is a contract for extension for phase, well, it says Phase 2 here.
Right, it's called FY 2011 Plan Development Dash Phase 2, essentially.
Okay.
It's confusing because this is actually the third phase of the contract. And then just to keep matters interesting, we have one more phase to go. That was to be, the whole contract was to be completed by the end of this year. We're anticipating it's going to take another few months to complete the plan itself, and then we have some follow-on work that we'll be doing with the committee. So we think just to be safe, the entire term of the contract should be extended for the fourth phase through December 31st of 2013. So there's a second piece of paper proposing that contract Phase 4, which is called on the extension request, implementation in all caps and bold, that be extended through December 31st of next year, 2013.
Final phase, yeah, I got it right here. I'm happy to do so, but we can't. We don't have a quorum tonight, and we need to vote on this. It will be taken up at our next meeting. I will carry this forward as the rest of the board. I don't think we need to have David come back.
No, that we have 2.
What's that?
Now that 2 members have heard Mr.
Yep.
Alvin explain.
Yeah, we'll carry it on to them. I don't see a problem with this. The board is very supportive about this.
Great.
One question I have is, are we still within budget?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, even though the extra year has elapsed, there's been no additional funds required.
Okay. One question I have, and probably to Hank, after we finish the implementation, there is another phase, or there's another part of this that needs to be moved forward as far as accepting, or is that all part of the implication?
My understanding, and Dave has probably got a better grasp of it than I do, but we have a tentative schedule going through the end of March for the plan itself. And if it works out, we hope to make a presentation sometime around March 26th to a joint meeting of the Select Board and the Planning Board, possibly having the Planning Board vote on it. If not at that meeting, then a meeting shortly thereafter. But then I guess included in the contract is some work by PVPC, I suppose mostly with the Planning Board. Because of course some of the things that are called for in the land use section involve zoning issues. There's the overall plan calls for an implementation committee, and we've had some discussion about what that would be. and we've got to continue that discussion. I don't know if you found anything in terms of the state's requirements regarding implementation committees.
I haven't.
I see it as a committee that, go back to the community development plan of 10 years ago, which has sat on the shelf for 10 years. I see it as a committee that I wouldn't exactly say harasses the various boards and commissions that are in the plan charged with certain responsibilities, but at least keeps track of things and keeps reminding people. Well, you know, Board X was supposed to do this, you haven't done it, you know, why not? One can only expect it. That sort of thing. That would be up to us, however. That would be outside of the contract with PVPC.
No.
They are going to do some work after the plan is voted on with the planning board. And I don't know, possibly with other boards, but I'm not sure of that.
I mean, as you know, in my departments, I know there's a lot of things was discussed and, you know, and develop a strategy for the future. And it's all going to come down to money.
Oh, sure, of course.
And
Not all. Not all.
No, the educational part is free.
Most of it, but not all. And, you know, I mean, it's up to the various boards and
No, I agree
commissions
with
to
you.
decide, well, we can do this, or we can do this, but we can't do that because we need money. I mean, there are some things that can be done.
I do think it's important that this has been thought out, it's been developed, it's taken an awful lot of information and developed a game plan, if you want to call it for anything else. And, yeah, we can't do everything with it, but the point is, it's a guide, and we had a master plan for the water department, and we didn't get everything we wanted to do with it, but we were able to refer to it and see what track we were on, and we didn't implement everything, but we implemented a lot of it, and we're better off and we're better positioned today than we were 20 years ago because of it.
Well, one of the things I hope, of course, I'm not on master plan committee, it's an ad hoc committee, but I get the sense you have not been having full, all boards meetings very often. And
We're hoping to change that.
I think that would be helpful with regard to implementation. We're doing this, we're doing that. But we're not doing this, we're not doing that because we can't.
Well, communication is a big factor in my head, and I do believe people need to know what's going on and need to know why you're doing things. And it's a lot easier to educate people when they know what we're trying to shoot for.
We're planning several outreach things in, as Hank mentioned, in March, so we'll be seeing more of this.
Our last meeting, well, what we hope will be almost the last meeting is January 17. By sometime in February, PPPC produces a draft plan layout and full draft master plan. And then at that special town meeting on February 5th, we hope to have a presence before the meeting with maybe outside in the corridor a poster and maybe some handouts about the plan. And tentatively, at least March 14th, a public presentation. David and maybe other staff people will be there with PowerPoint. And then the committee, the master plan committee, a vote on the 21st of March, and again, the presentation to the planning board on the 26th.
Now, is this master plan has to be accepted by the town?
Does not.
Okay, just the
If the
planning board.
zoning reform had gone through, in one of its, it would have had to. But we thought that it was important to have a public meeting. Now, it may be that March 26th is too early for a planning board vote, because they will have to have a public hearing. Ours is going to be an informational session, which we will publicize, but we're not legally obligated to have it a legal ad for it. So maybe it's probably the planning board wouldn't be able to vote on the 26th, but we would make the presentation and they could hash it out and they could have their hearing and so forth. And hopefully by April, we'd have a vote.
Could I just check back on the timeline on the contract? Because the current
That's what I
contract,
was just gonna ask
it does
you.
expire December 31st.
Well, we're probably going to miss it. To be
Not
honest with
meeting
you,
again?
Unless we can schedule, oh, not even a meeting. Can we schedule a meeting on, like,
On the
Wednesday or
28th?
Thursday? Yeah,
After the,
just with that one topic.
well, we could talk about it, yeah, and we probably have to schedule a meeting to sign these extensions and get that done, and probably pick up the work that we didn't do tonight because of a lack of a quorum.
Okay.
So, you have any problems with that?
Nope.
Jackie? Yeah, we'll have the meeting at 10:30 and see
Okay.
if we can keep a quorum around and finish this,
So that'll be Friday, December 28th?
no, Thursday, I think, is it Thursday the 28th?
27th,
27th, excuse me.
Thursday the 27th. Yeah. You're going to have the town meeting.
Right.
Yeah, we have, in order for us to set the tax rate, DOR found something that was counted twice, so we have to go back and subtract that and put it back into a proper form and vote on it again in order for us to set the tax rate. Actually, it's not an increase in money, I believe it's a decrease, am I right, Reggie?
Correct, yes.
It's a decrease, because we counted some interest twice.
A decrease in expenditure,
Correct.
so nobody should have any trouble voting
Well,
on that.
I've seen different things happen.
Would it be helpful if I just had a PVPC staff person available?
Yeah,
to
if
be
you want to bring them down, if you can get them back Christmas week.
All right. It won't be me, but it'll be somebody.
Somebody.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I wouldn't want to be in the position with the contract expiring, because I don't think we can.
We're going to go to great lengths to get it done.
We can't renew retroactively. I just want to.
What's your calendar year? Or your fiscal year, same as the calendar year?
We had many different years, but
Well, they have to-
this contract is the date to the expiration date on this contract
Okay.
is what we're looking to beat, which is December 31st, the end of this month.
I think the fiscal year is, July 1st, June 30, but there are some things, right, where the federal fiscal year has to be taken into account. That starts in October. I think.
Some of those federal years are 2, 3, and 5 years, aren't they? Transportation is a 5-year.
Yeah,
But this doesn't-
except the current one, which is 2 years.
It's a renewal every year.
I have a question.
Yeah.
You had said the PowerPoint, you were going to do that? At what date?
The date?
Yeah,
Well, tentatively, March 14.
okay, so PowerPoint presentation,
Well, PVPC would prepare it, and essentially would show the main features of the plan. And what, of course, we're going to try to stress throughout this is it's only a plan. Some
Right.
people will say, oh, well, you're committing us to this or that. No, we're not. There's nothing in the plan, well, there are some things in the plan that could be done administratively, but anything involving money or zoning or anything else would require a town vote. So it is a plan. And really what it is as much a compendium of information about the past as it is looking ahead to the future.
I believe that's going to be very helpful when people start making decisions.
right, yeah, I mean, I'm a huge advocate of, we have cameras here so that people know what we're doing, and I think it's really important that we keep everybody abreast of how this whole thing is unfolding, I should say.
I think one thing we might do, I haven't sprung this on Hank yet, but it's possible for us to produce a video or a slideshow that you could run on your cable access.
Oh, that's a great idea.
That we could.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Can you
that's-
run it on the webpage?
We could
we
put
upload
it
it
up
on?
on a YouTube that would
Okay.
allow you to embed that on the
Okay.
webpage, so.
That would be probably more,
Do that too.
There is, by the way, a link on the Southampton page to a page that PVPC maintains, which has got all of the draft chapters in their latest form available.
well, that might be very
Anybody
helpful
wants to look
to,
at historical or...
Well, that's good.
so it's an attachment now,
Right, yeah.
Yeah, it's southamptonmasterplan.org,
okay?
and all the chapters are there right now, so anybody can read them.
So that's part of what we pay for, so that you can put it into a layman's term, so that everybody else can understand how this is evolving.
Yep.
Right.
And we hope to have, will have, before, I think before the public information session, copies of the draft plan in the library and probably in Eileen's office, the plan itself, which is going to be fairly lengthy. I don't know how many pages we're up to now, but
Close to 200.
But you can put that in this more understandable,
Most definitely.
yeah, because a lot of people don't have time to go through all that. But at least if they understand the gist of what we're trying to accomplish, it would be really helpful.
Right, and then offer them the opportunity to give more feedback on it.
Right.
That's a big part of it, is to get people engaged and thinking about what it means.
And how could they do that? Could they do that online or contact?
We have the ability to comment on that. I'm available. I'm essentially the staff person to Hank in the master planning committee, so I'm able to field comments and incorporate that and work with town staff.
Is there going to be, when you do your presentation to the planning board, does it shift from your committee to the planning board to have a hearing and then take questions and have feedback to you, or do they develop their own feedback to the master plan?
I'm sorry, take questions from
the public.
Well, if they have a hearing, that's an interesting question. If they have a hearing and somebody makes a strong argument to change some feature of the plan, I don't know whether the planning board can change it or not.
I know.
Vote it up or down?
I know there's a process that, you need to take comments and stuff.
Well,
like
we're
that.
going to have that public information session, which is a de facto hearing.
Yeah.
Even though it will be legally advertised, we'll try to get...
It's an informative, informational meeting.
There won't be any surprises in the plan by any stretch, because we've been doing the outreach and asking people. We did a survey a couple of years ago, so...
Some people will be surprised, however, who haven't been paying attention.
But my job as a planner is not to come up with original ideas. It's to take the community's ideas and bring them into a plan so that they make sense. So this is stuff that organically came out of the community.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Good. Thanks.
I don't see anything else that we can work on, Reggie. Jackie, do you see anything?
We're not going to do the minutes.
Can't do the minutes.
We have the warrants signed.
Can't do the disability. There's no disability for me, right?
Appointments, can't do that. No, we don't have full board, so we can't. There's not much we can do. It's just
George,
maybe...
do you have any comments from the public? We'll give you open time, but we can't deal with it.
Plenty of time, right? Let me get my 4-page...
That's all right. Submit it.
Yeah.
If it's written out, we'll take it as is.
We got $340,000 for the Greenway. They want $550,000.
You want a lot more than that.
Yeah. It's a long ways away.
I think we're meeting this Thursday morning to begin another part of the negotiations.
Yeah.
It's going to be a drawn-out affair.
I think so.
Yeah.
When we take it by public domain for $340,000, this is DSS value, isn't it?
I don't know. I mean, it's an option, but it's also they have a reason for having a railroad too, and they can deal with that too.
Yeah.
There's I don't know how in years past there was an issue that in national defense they can take that back, but I don't know if it's still there. They can do that. But there's all kinds of things that are on the table. And there's a serious price tag that comes with eminent domain, because now you're going to be dealing with 3 appraisals, not one, and then you're going to have some fairly large legal bills. But this is a step.
Yeah.
And they, one thing about public government, they know our cards.
Yeah.
They can see our cards
Yeah.
because everything's open.
Has anybody given any thought? And what it's going to cost us to do that 4.1 miles?
We're going to need an engineering study on that. And I mean, there's some ballpark figures you can use per on an average per mile what it is, but I can tell you, rule of thumb on a mile of road, it's about $1 million.
Yeah,
with sewers and everything else, so, in retrospect, it's not quite the same width, it's not quite the same utilities, but there is an average out there. I'm sure they can use for an estimate, but it's not going to be the exact, because you have bridges involved there, you have wetland issues, a lot of permitting, and there's some endangered species in there and stuff.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of hurdles to do during the construction and permitting process.
There may be a bridge across Route 10.
I don't want to stop them there,
Yeah.
There's all kinds of thought, but that's the Bikes Committee. I mean, we're the Board of Selectmen. That charge will be given to a larger group to bring to us and see if it's feasible.
Yeah.
And all predicated on money. I mean, if they go with the state and federal funding program that's out there, it's a 10, 12-year venture. If that Iron Horse thing is an issue and it's it could be shorter, but it's not going to be the same kind of construction, Or we can take our money and build it ourselves and be much quicker and be out of pocket.
And you're talking $4 or $5 million.
It's going to be, I won't put a price tag on it now because I don't have all
That's today's money.
Yeah.
That's today's money, not tomorrow's money.
Well, if it was built years ago, it would have been yesterday's money and it would have been a lot, but we would have been probably in a position right now to think about repairing it,
Yeah.
And there's a maintenance cost involved with this. There's issues. And they'll all be addressed. This Bike Committee and Greenway Committee is aware of all the issues, and I'd be happy to nominate you for it, George.
Yeah, George.
Oh, really?
We're looking to
We
get
need
you
an
involved here.
applicant.
This is it, right
We
here.
need to look at everything, I will go on another committee or I'll be killed. That's it. Okay. Sorry, George, we couldn't entertain you any more than what we got. It was just the two of us tonight.
I'll tell you what was beautiful. There's something to be said for innocence.
Aren't they,
yeah.
they were so great,
It is. Huh?
so cute.
Doesn't the Bible come to me as little children?
They didn't want
That's a
to,
prayer.
they didn't want to talk, and all of a sudden they were rattling out the questions.
Yeah.
They were so awesome.
They were good.
Very smart questions.
This will be pending.
This is somebody's pen over here.
And Merry Christmas to all.